BetStamp wants to ensure you've maximized your ROI. Line shopping for the best odds matters, and that is why any profitable sports bettor needs to be using multiple sports books. Thankfully, there has never been a better time to get signed up, and they are here to connect you with the best promotions industry-wide. Using their link, signupexpert.com-TAS, you can get access to all the sportsbooks in your region, along with a review of each platform and its unique features. Most importantly, this page automatically connects you to the top promotions at each book, allowing you to start line shopping with an enhanced.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Drew with High Fight IQ, and you are now watching the MMA Conspiracy Hour with my boys Todd Adkins and Miguel Iturrate. Miguel has been the matchmaker for over 200 shows worldwide and has worked with Hook and Shoot, Euphoria, Bodog, and ADCC. Make sure you subscribe to the Todd Atkins Show on YouTube. You can also find Miguel on his YouTube channel at MMA Collector 74. Don't forget to subscribe to High Fight IQ on all social media platforms. The House Call Sports on YouTube, the Fight Pit on YouTube. Now let's talk some fights, baby. Let's go.
All right, so it's Todd Atkins, and I'm here with Miguel Iturrate, and we're back for another MMA Conspiracy Hour. Miguel's got some great stuff coming up on this, kind of talked offline, and I'm actually really looking forward to this. I think Miguel's got some good insight on this. And as always, I want to thank our sponsors, Live to Fight and BetStamp, and for helping to bring the show here and always giving us support. And Miguel, today we're going to talk about Conor McGregor, co-owner, partial owner, whatever, of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. I kind of want to get your initial thoughts. I know we talked offline about this, so I'm really interested.
Well, I mean, he comes on board as a co-owner. Has there been a percentage tie? Does he owe 10% of the company, 5%, 100, 51%, 49%? How does that work out? I don't think Feldman gave him, operational control kind of thing. So you got to assume he's probably got about a 10% ownership. I think that might be a fair number. Then the other thing is we know the UFC and WWE. The UFC was valued at a few $1 billion before the WWE merger. Now they're breaking up and changing companies and things like that. But there have been some exorbitant amounts there. But what is the BKFC franchise actually valued at? What is it, $1 billion company? Because I don't think that they've made it to achieve even a $1 billion value. Maybe I'm wrong. But they've got a library that's available to people with the phone app. I'm putting in here. I'm going to see if there's any type of so yeah, they've it's a privately owned company still, and there's no value out there that you can kind of grab a hold of or So again, how much money is actually being imparted? In the past, there have been rumors and word that the BKFC, was looking for a cash influx, and then then they could kick off and set off another series of shows and things. So this probably is something where they take some money in, they get Conor. I heard some of Feldman's conversation where Conor went to a show a year ago. At this point, he popped up over there about a year ago, and he did one, and that they've been on the phone a lot. Since then, that they talked a lot. Now he can't, Conor can't stop calling him, kind of thing. Those are the types of rhetoric coming from over there. But how much money was actually exchanged?
If any.
Yeah. So, and here's the other part is yeah, because now Conor, they get to use his name.
Right.
Is he contractually gonna be at some of the BKFC shows, or is he still gonna look at it there? It's interesting to see. There are a couple of things that Feldman has done well with BKFC. But the idea that they're growing exponentially, I'm not sure I buy into that.
Right.
What you don't hear calls to ban it. Just that is a major accomplishment. They've done really well with that. And, I do believe it's a sport. I believe it's not as sophisticated as boxing, but it beats boxing sophistication with its raw edge. So it has a place, and it is a different sport than just pure boxing. You've seen guys like Austin Trout, Paulie Malignaggi, guys like that have tried it and had mixed results. The MMA guys have tried it, and also, some have done well, some haven't done well. Has to do with, I think, like I said, the edgy part of it is where they win. When you get Mike Perry, after a knockdown drag out fight and his face is all lumped up, or you see people, covered in blood still and things like that, you really don't see that in the UFC anymore. It's been maybe a decade since you saw something kind of like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my dad used to say, it's funny. My dad used to watch the early UFCs with me, and he said, before he passed away, my father had said, I don't really like to watch you more because you could basically eat off the mat now. It's not even, there's no violence anymore.
Yeah, the UFC is not, is now mainstream, which means that they have no real, edge anymore. That's what they've managed to take out of it, is that X factor, and the BKFC has managed to grab a hold of that. But at the same time that they have a hold of that, it also is a limiting factor because it's not for everybody.
Right.
So now they've been around for many years now. They've been around, probably close to 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could go, if you go, they still distribute on their phone app, and you pay $5 a month to get their phone application on your phone, and then you can see the events. So I go to the Play Store, and the Play Store says they have about 100,000 downloads. So, how much are they actually, and how many of those 100,000 plus downloads, how many of those people are actually paying the monthly fee still? Because, at some point, some people may cancel, So it's questionable exactly how big it is. And, I'm sure, like most companies, they want to appear and look bigger than they are, But, Conor may have bought a 10% share for a couple $1,000,000, which for him at this point is tip money. And for Feldman, at this point, that's operating money for the next year or so. Maybe he didn't exchange anything. Maybe it allows him to use his name. There was that pictures of Feldman appearing with Dana White. And, you could spin that. I wonder if Feldman got to McGregor after got turned down by Dana. Just getting the foot in the door with Dana and being able to pitch to him the idea of selling this was also another pretty big accomplishment. Could he have been looking for Dana to buy a percentage of it? It's kind of weird. Dana opted to go, I guess, with slap fighting, huh? He's the big owner of slap fighting, and left BKFC on the floor and opted to go and let it go to Conor. And I think Conor's a guy, I'm not sure Conor's going to lose money on this or anything like that. But I'm not convinced this is a big money move, or that this is a big break for them. It's good publicity, but as they run, they just did their big weekend Knucklemania show this last weekend. Why wasn't McGregor at that show? Why wasn't this announcement made there? You know, that would have been a good way to get a lot more attention to the show. But you do it the week before, but they announced it afterwards.
Conor announced it on Twitter afterwards.
Yeah, so yeah, I think you're seeing a smaller companies that's still trying to grow still, and that I don't believe that they're growing as fast as everybody tells you that they are. Like I said, you could go to the Play Store. The Play Store has them at 100,000. It says 100,000 plus downloads. And you know, does that mean they made 200,000 downloads? And there are other stores and maybe other locations you can get that. But say they have 500,000 downloads on the application at $5 a month. How many of those subscribers stayed? And how many people don't pay the $5 a month anymore? So, you know, are they looking at 50, 60,000 subscribers a month? Because then, you know, that's not a huge amount of money that they're generating every show coming in or every month coming in. It's not even dependent on the shows, you know. It's depending on like a monthly fee. So it's fixed. And, you know, if they have at some point, oh, we just lost 10,000 subscribers, you know, that could, you know, then they have to try to make it up with other people. But I predict that, you know, that they got a good bulk of their downloads and subscribers. There's some people that are lifers there that'll stay with it forever. And $5 isn't that much. There's some people who probably get it built to their credit card and have forgotten it's there. But those numbers, like I said, just go to the Play Store and you can see how many times it's been downloaded there. And it gives you a guesstimate, 100,000. There's more there. There's more other ways, like I said, to download it and stuff. But this is not a $1 billion company. This is not. Could it be $100 million? Could it be $200 million? I don't know what you would value it at. But yeah, I think this was a way that BKFC has of trying to make headlines and trying to improve their scope. Rubbing shoulders with McGregor, it doesn't seem to be a bad way to get your name out there. But, you know, after his little appearance, you know, pushing his movie and all the negatives that come around McGregor and the fact that he's 36 and that his fight career is now a lot closer to ending than it is to beginning. You know, how much actual value is that? It reminds me too of the Premier Boxing Champions. They also came out with a big head of steam, you know, with Al Heyman and the money that they had in there, and one of the advisors and owners or part owners, or you know, they had Mayweather along with them. And Mayweather didn't lose any money on the Premier Boxing Champions, and I don't think McGregor is going to be like, okay, BKFC needs more cash here, just take it from me. No, McGregor's there to make more money. So now he owns a part of the company. He's going to expect something back, and we'll see what kind of legs having Conor McGregor associated with them actually gives them. Because I don't think it turns into, again, here's the other part is you know, maybe Feldman was asking Dana for permission to approach Conor.
Yeah, we had talked about that, you know, about contractually. That was pretty much the case with other UFC fighters. I don't know if it's the case with him.
Yeah, I'd be kind of surprised if the contract says they can't do MMA. And, you know, because if the contract says they can't do MMA, then this is not MMA. So then Conor can do whatever he wants.
No, I mean
right?
business period, right? That's something that we had talked about where the UFC had kind of contractually made it to where they had to be approached.
They prevented Randy Couture from cornering his own kid because that would put Couture's image on a different fight show. Now, granted, that was MMA, but now Conor's image, which is very closely associated with the UFC, maybe Conor got this clauses taken out of his contract when he blew up.
Yeah.
But I think that the UFC, at the very least, Dana said, I don't give a shit. But I think Feldman was not being genuine when he said, you know, they're not mad yet. Like, yeah. Like, the UFC McGregor's never going to fight bare knuckle. If he does, I'll come on here and be the first person to apologize and eat crow. If he does, it's going to be years down the line. But I think he just re-up with the UFC, or it's not happening.
Maybe that was part of his new deal. Hey, I want to buy into this company, and you guys need to let me.
Yeah,
or I need to have I want to have my name on this company. I don't think he bought into it, but
yeah. That's the thing so he's now associated with it. But what good will that do the company? How much? Like I said, it's a publicity stunt. It looks like they're going to get headlines now, but again, in the last 5 years, every once in a while, when they signed, Malignaggi for the first guy from a boxing world champion coming over to do this, that sort of stuff. They've tried to do things that have gotten them heat, At some point, they started getting former UFC fighters to come over and do it as well. Those were all touching points for them to, put out the message that they're still growing, they're getting bigger, and they're getting better. Like I said, I don't think that their growth is like the UFC's growth, where it just keeps going up, 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 up. The other part is it's speculation, but the UFC did a lot to work against their own competition, and now basically they operate without anybody competitive anywhere near their level. BKFC still has competitors in England and competitors, that are out there. So if you want to see bare knuckle product, there are other options besides BKFC that you can turn to. So I'm not sure that this. I think that their growth started when they when they set up the app and they put that out and stuff. Yeah, they had a rush of downloads. Now they get a certain amount of downloads, every month, a certain amount of subscribers every month. I'd be surprised, if they added 10,000 new subscribers every month, over the last few years, they'd be getting close. If they add 10,000, and in 1 year, that means 120,000 new people paying for the subscription that stay with you. After a few years, you're getting close to 500,000 people every month paying you $5. Now, if they're paying you $5, that means that this company's pulling in $2.5 million a month for cash, not to mention money from sponsors and things like that. I don't see that to be the case. Yeah. I don't think that's the case. So I think that they also have this smoke and mirrors game where they try to appear bigger than they are. More power to them. They're trying to run a business. They've done a good job. Nobody's calling to ban it. It's got a good niche audience where people love it. I'm sure the live shows are very fun because, that edge from the old UFCs is still there. In Perry, I think they found a guy, for lack of a better explanation, a guy born for this. He found his niche. He found his sport. So they got a guy that they can ride out. But, what's Perry got left? 3 years? Who's next? Will they
and
run
how much
into
attention does he bring mainstream wise? I don't know.
Yeah, again, we're not at the point where, newspapers, are printing results of this stuff. And again, there's no TV or presence like that I know of. You have to get the app.
Right.
So,
even the boxers that they've got in, it's mostly been one-offs.
Yeah, Austin Trout, I think, has competed for him consistently.
2 times, I think.
And I think Austin, in his heyday as a boxer, was probably one of the top 10 best boxers in the world when he was at the top of his game. He's an excellent boxer. I enjoyed him as a boxer. But I think, once you start falling off of the top shelf of boxing and things like that, and then, I think you pointed out that Austin Trout took some liberties with some of the rules. I don't know if he applied cream or what it was, or exactly what it was.
Vaseline, it looked like.
Yeah. So he came over here to do some shenanigans, and he's doing a money grab. He's not, there to be a poster boy for BKFC, and he'll leave them as soon as they, Feldman might drop him as soon as they find another guy, another flavor of the month. And like I said, with Perry, they have a guy they can work with. They've done well, but I just recently watched Perry fight Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez, a fighter dear to my heart, and Eddie quit on the stool. Not an easy sport to have longevity in. Like I said, Perry is right now drinking it up, and he's in, at the top of the game, so to speak. But that could fall off very quickly and very, very drastically, very quickly. And, what did they do after Perry?
Yeah, they were kind of, Lorenzo Hunt seemed to be the guy that they were mainly focused on,
Yeah, and Hunt is another guy that's got that edge, like Perry. If you look back at their roster too, their heavyweight Arnold Adams had heat and edginess as well back in those days, but they seem to have stopped concentrating on it. Maybe he asked for too much money, which is not willing to pay him.
Yeah, I felt it was important for them if they were going to bring in guys like Malignaggi or some of these to keep them.
Yeah.
It does seem somewhat active,
Even with Thiago Alves, who was in the main event against Perry this past weekend, Thiago said in the press conference, he said, "I'm back here for the money." But from when he first went over to BKFC, I believe he won a belt for them. They actually did fight shows in Miami, in Alves' hometown. And Alves sat on the bench. Didn't even so as a company, they still don't like that's not the $2.5 million a month coming in money being spent. You know what I mean? It's like it still seems like, like they go top heavy, they pay, for a something big, and then there's a little bit of a tail off as they build up again. So again, I'm not sure exactly how much of a value the company would value at. I'm not sure how much McGregor would give up. I think McGregor probably has shown that he put good financial people around him, so he's going to try to make money here. But again, what does that mean? I'll give you a couple of examples, right? Like I said, with the Premier Boxing Champions, they had Mayweather associated with them. Mayweather never gave them any money to go ahead and, keep boxing going at a high level. He was there, basically using his guys, trying to get his guys fighting and work his team there. So maybe, I don't know, McGregor now is going to, on top of everything else he's got going on, going to decide he's going to train bare knuckle fighters and have a team McGregor. Maybe that's one way to go with it and get that would probably be the most valuable way to get his name constantly associated with the show, in a valuable way, that he's got, a team McGregor, and we're going to see 3 or 4 of his fighters in the next couple of years come up.
But I think it could be popular in Ireland. I think over there they might like it.
Yeah, but they already have BK bare knuckle shows up that go on over there.
Yeah, but having McGregor with it, I think will help them there for sure.
Yeah, it could.
Maybe they could get a jolt of fan support in Ireland.
Again, what does that mean? Does that mean that, again, you're talking about they've been around for 5 years on the Play Store, they've got about 100,000 downloads. So what does that mean? All of a sudden in Ireland, 3 million downloads are going to come in? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't even think McGregor could pull off that sort of magic. Now they would get that. Hey, here's the other part is, let's say by some miracle, McGregor did fight. Then you'd get everybody downloading the app, and 98% of those people would cancel the next month.
That's true.
So their distribution stuff still is a small company going on. The other example I didn't mention is, say McGregor bought 10% of the company. Again, they're going to use his name, maybe his image, this, the other thing, have him come in and give the belts away and, do, some ruckuses like that. Abu Dhabi bought 10% of the UFC. The sheiks in Abu Dhabi owned 10% of the UFC for a long time. They had no influence. This is still Feldman's baby. Feldman is the sole person going, overseeing the direction of this. And I don't think, he may take a phone call from Conor and enjoy that. Maybe Conor will give him some advice and things like that. But I think Conor's influence will be limited other than by image as well. And Conor doesn't have a lot of time to be guiding a company here. Dana, Feldman, those guys are vested. They're 100% interested in this, in their companies. They've dedicated their whole lives to it. And McGregor's spread thin, What's he going to do when the next, if he gets another TV script or movie script? He'll be gone shooting that. And 2-3 BKFC events will be going on where he's not there, not appearing, So, again, I don't see a lot of value to this other than that they got good headlines. And we mentioned that if they had announced this last week, maybe the deal wasn't done last week. But it should have been. This Knucklemania is supposedly their bigger shows. Why didn't they announce this last week? Why didn't they get these deals don't get made in like 2 days.
They should have had him in the ring announcing it on their telecast.
Yeah, bring him in, announce it, and have him associated with your biggest show. At this point, like Feldman said it himself, he came to a show a year ago. So, okay, that's good. Good for them.
For fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he said.
So, and yeah, since then he wants to be involved in stuff because, yeah, like I said, that you see this stuff live and you're an adrenaline person, you will feel that adrenaline rush. You will feel that was felt at the early UFCs and stuff like that, that, it now takes a Gagey Holloway type of match for you to even come close to capturing that. Every match, again, people poo-pooing the UFC 300 card when it was an excellent card from the very beginning, because you already have the sense that you've seen just about everything you can see in MMA. BKFC still has that edge. There's no better word for it. So that's there, but again, that's limiting to them too. Like I give me a valuation of the company. Tell me how much McGregor paid. McGregor's part owner now. Again, did he buy 49%? Did he buy 51%? Did he buy 10%? How much money was exchanged? A lot of the times when deals are made, those numbers are put out. If I'm sure if they were impressive numbers in one way or another, that they would be out there. But nobody's giving you any of those answers. So I present to you that probably it's not as big a deal behind the scenes as they're trying to make it out to be.
Yeah. But it grabbed him some headlines, so I think in that way it was effective.
Yeah. After, Perry was in the ring again this weekend. He did his job. They had a good undercard, had good fights. And they needed to go with Conor McGregor as their headlines on the Monday, the Sunday after the show.
They need some viral moments like UFC have with Holloway and Gaethje. That's really what BKFC needs. They did have a fight on the undercard that was just a knockdown drag out. Maybe they could get it out of that. But they need something like that.
Yeah, and let's I'm going to go here. This will be another one of those interesting numbers that we can find out, right? Because let's see how many YouTube subscribers the BKFC channels have. You may have more than one channel. BKFC have 1 million subscribers. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. I mean, it is, but it's not. Yeah, it's more than most channels that are out there. But in terms of heavy monetization and stuff, I mean, they put out a video 4 days ago. It has 60,000 views. 11 days ago, a video 33,000 views. Now those are preview videos, and they've got some videos with millions of hits and stuff like that. But that's those types of numbers are not the type of numbers that move the needle like the UFC does. So yeah, and again with 100,000 plus downloads of the app and things like that, yeah, people can go see highlights on the YouTube channel, and yeah, this company's not. I'd be surprised they were valued at even $100 million.
Yeah, but I mean, like we said, it is edgy, and that is something that maybe in some way they could use to their advantage if the right lightning strikes for them.
The thing about edgy is that that's the first thing that making big money and going mainstream kills.
Right.
That's what it did to the UFC.
Yeah.
And as good as Perry is at this sport, Perry is not a prime time, guy that you want to see doing, the talk show circuits and things like that. Perry's built for this sport as is right now. If it blows up, you're going to find that Perry falls short on some of the other aspects that they asked for.
Right.
Just my opinion. I like Perry. I enjoy him, and I think he's a knucklehead and a nut. But again,
he's a fighter's fighter, though. I would say that.
Sure. And but again, the mainstream guys, what makes Conor a mainstream guy is that he's got a WWF appeal on the mic. I still remember. I've always rooted against Conor. Don't like him. Don't like the fact that the UFC shortcutted. Guys like had him cut ahead in line for championship fights and things like that. Just he got that kind of treatment. Always made me root against him. He got to Eddie Alvarez. He got to Jose Aldo. Both those fights I would have picked the other guy. So he's done his job as a fighter. But to me, I've always been like, when he beat Eddie, I was just like, damn, God, I wish that hadn't happened, But the one time McGregor made me smile, and I forget which fight it was, but he got up after winning the fight, sitting up on top of the octagon or whatever, and grabs a mic and he says, I want to get everybody's attention here. I want to apologize to absolutely no one. Even that made me smile. That is a good line. And he's got a good way of turning, I think he uses some of his shtick too much. Like, who the hell are you, or who the fuck are you, is what he says in press conferences. And he's getting tired and old with some of his lines. Mm-hmm. But that's what the WWE, you turn on the WWE now and they're rehashing all the stupid, can you smell what The Rock is cooking from 15 years ago?
Yeah. Sad.
Perry unfortunately doesn't have that quite that type of appeal. He doesn't, he'll have his moments on the mic and he may say interesting things, but not, and fighter oriented things about like how he does love the fight game and this, that, and the other stuff. Perry's good, but Perry's not a mainstream character. He's an underground guy. Just my opinion.
And no, you're right. You're right. He's a fighter's fighter, but when it comes to like mainstream appeal, is he a mainstream appeal guy? Nah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's something wrong with it.
And Perry may be mad, may not like hearing it, but I think that he's exactly where he needs to be. He thinks so too. Yeah. This is his sport. He didn't like MMA. MMA didn't treat him like the main guy, and here he gets to be the main guy. He deserves that, but I don't think this is going to wind up with him, with a bank account comparable to Conor's. It's just not going to happen.
In fact, if he had a mainstream guy opposite of him, he'd be the perfect antagonist, I would think.
Yeah.
The fighter's fighter, but the person that mainstream fans are like, I don't know if I like this guy. Some ways he's really likable, and I think in other ways maybe he would turn some people off. But as fighter, he's He's
Yeah.
the fighter's fighter. Other fighters like Mike Perry.
What the UFC did in the last few years, in the last years, 20 years or however, since Dana and those guys came aboard, is they pushed the sport through to the mainstream. And whether you like it or not, now every UFC fighter is in a uniform.
Yeah.
And the UFC is taking all the money away from it and stuff. It no longer has the same edgy look and feel. The fights and you no longer get a guy covered in blood. You rarely get anything but a broken hand or maybe a broken orbital, from a punch or whatever. And the fights are stopped quickly, very quickly at times. When you go back and look at older fights, like for example, some of what we've been doing on the other show, where we look at older classic fights from the early days of MMA, there is that feel that the refs, oh God, they let that go on, and that was the edge that got taken away from it.
Yeah.
And Perry still has that because, like I said, it's a tough sport, and Perry has been rugged enough to navigate it, and he's already extended his career further than some of the other guys. Like I like I said, I'm an Eddie Alvarez fan. You know, I don't think Eddie's going to pop up on BKFC anymore. Not when he was probably winning the fight with Mike Perry, but decided to not come out for the third round because he was getting knocked up and he was hurt.
It's kind of like the NFL, like when you watch the NFL, it used to be guys would get absolutely clobbered on the field, and they took all that away. Now they're even talking about letting guys wear that rubber. I don't know if you see the stuff they wear in practice over the helmet. It's like a concussive protective shell that goes on the helmet itself. Now they're talking about letting them wear it in games, and it's like I don't think they realize what they're taking all the edge away from the NFL.
Yeah, I'm not an NFL expert or anything like that, and there is an aspect of as you get older, you see things different and things like that. In the NBA too, like you've got star players in the NBA who will not play a game, the second game of a back-to-back game series
Yeah, yeah.
where they're playing, because they get tired. You're playing 48 minutes a day, making millions of dollars, and you need time off. When the guys played 82 games a season, all the 82 games and stuff, nobody would claim like they were exhausted or anything like that. So there's some over the management of it has been created in sports where it may be going over the top and limiting the sports again. Yeah, I think the NFL, um, it's a very tough sport, but the guys are well compensated. They work half the year, and there are rules that you never want to see guys wind up hurt or in bad shape afterwards and things. I think Junior Seau committed suicide and that
Yeah.
he had so many concussions and things like that. And
Yeah.
Troy Aikman is a guy who had a lot of concussions and things, So yeah, you wish there was a way to limit that, but at the same time, it is a contact sport. The guys go into there knowing, and in UFC they've already taken away that edge, and BKFC still has that edge.
Yeah.
But that's what makes BKFC what they are. The minute they start stopping fights a little sooner, the minute guys start to get cut and they stop fights on cuts and lumping, of the face, and they don't have the guys who really look like they've been through a war, they'll actually lose some of the people that they have now. Because I think that's the appealing part, is that edge. So, yeah.
Same with the NBA. Yeah, you're right. The NBA, I think that's why the NBA is hurting too. I mean, it's a decent product to watch, but I think a lot of people that used to watch it, it's just not the same. And I remember I saw David West saying, he played for Charlotte Hornets, and I think they ran a play, and he went up to dunk it or try and get a hard layup, And he got fouled, but it wasn't too bad. And Larry Brown, who's the coach of the Detroit Pistons, these old school coaches, they don't just coach their own players, they coach the other team too. He said, "You should have shot that," you know? And Dave West didn't listen to him. Next time down, they ran the same play. He went up, he got hit from all directions by like
Yeah.
3 different guys, and he got hurt, you know? But that's kind of what's missing from the NBA now, you know?
Well,
There's none of
you
that
know, not to talk
contact, no
about
contact.
something, yeah, like the that the defense has been made a lot easier. Um, Jordan took a beating a lot of the time. And the other thing about it, I think that's changed is, um, and I went to high school with an NBA player. Actually, 2 guys on our high school team made the NBA. Um, won the state championship several years. I was not on the team, obviously, but we got to watch that and enjoy that. And even back then, these guys, they went to classes, they did things, and now they are identified as talents a lot sooner, and it's a lot sooner that they start to get agents and things like that. I mean, LeBron James was on the cover of Sports Illustrated while he was still a kid,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And so it's lost a lot of that innocence, and that they learn earlier that you can love the game and stuff, but that it's a business also. And some of the love of the sport and doing it, like a guy now, players played hurt. NFL players played hurt. People, they played hurt, and now they no longer do that. They value, you know, a different avenue of making money and things like that. And money is the thing that's trumped all of that. So, and again, the problem with it is that with every guy like that making money, there's guys that are not on the field practicing that are also making money at a different level. Lawyers, agents, and things like that. Those guys are the ones that have hurt the sport. Anybody advising Kawhi Leonard that he can only really play 60 games a season and convince him to do it, that's not, that's in the end, that's detrimental to the sport. That's not love of the sport that's there. If it was really something wrong with the guy, that's different. But I don't think that's the case. Yeah, I'm talking about stuff I really don't know much about. But in the fight game, I believe that's been what got the UFC to be a mainstream product, is that the marketing of the clothing company. Now the clothing is being sold, and you can buy your favorite fighter shirts, and they all look alike. You no longer buy the shirt from your fighter. Like I remember, back in the old days, the fighters be printing up their own shirts with, their image on it and stuff, and you could buy that. And they bring some friends or whatever, sell them at the table and stuff like that. Now they can't even do that.
Right.
Their image is owned by the UFC, and every single item that's sold with a fighter's name, the UFC grabs a percentage of. And that means not only Dana's making money, but all the UFC's lawyers and all the people that are there to enforce it, that nobody's bootlegging shirts and stuff like that, or anything. How many people do they have that watch YouTube channels to take down proprietary fight clips and things like that, to make sure that they've got all that? All those people making all that money on salaries and things like that. They built a machine, and it all takes edge away because they want no risks. And that's what's going on with some of those sports. At least Perry not afraid of risk.
Yeah, that's true. Um, you know, as
We're
always,
way off subject.
yeah. As always, appreciate your insight, in these interviews. I always appreciate the time you take, and I always like to let you talk about the dog rescue at the end of these shows and kind of give updates.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So yep. It's kind of business as usual. A couple of days from now, I mentioned it last time we recorded. The pit bulls I started out with are going to be without an owner, so I'm going to be heading over there every day to take care of them again, and that's just kind of I appreciate it. The dogs, when they still see me, I haven't seen them. Maybe I see them once a week or once a month at times. While they had an owner who was living with them and stuff, and they still react to me and recognize me and stuff, and that's nice. And I like that. Um, I have 3 dogs that live with me, and I may be adding a fourth. A neighbor that's being forced to give up a dog by their landlord, and it's a good dog. So, I don't want to see anything weird happen to it. So I may be taking on a fourth dog.
I don't
But
know how you do it. That's a lot of
yeah,
food.
yeah. Well, that's the least of it, because they can eat and stuff like that, but they take up certain amount of attention as well,
Right,
for
right,
them to
right.
be happy and things. Um, it's rainy season's gonna starting off here, and they get to go out less and stuff. And this weekend, I found myself a couple of times surrounded by all 3 of them sitting there just looking at me like, "Are you taking us out? Are we going out?" Like, so, um, yeah, but I love it. It's good. It's a good distraction in terms of oh, people know my story. It keeps me sober too.
Yeah. It's always good to have, and as always we appreciate the support. I actually put membership out. I chose the cheapest one, 99 cents. I know times are hard for people, and maybe I know some people have been asking me when you're going to have to do these lives with Miguel again, where people could ask him questions and whatnot. Maybe we could let people that have memberships in on those or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. You tell me when, and we'll set it up, and I'll go out and do the best I can fielding the questions. I like that of like I think I'm better without a script. Like I think um I know this game of MMA, my whole life kind of thing. So I think the more we prepare, the more it looks contrived. I like being on the fly like we do. So I enjoy it. And the fans that do follow us, yeah, uh, I definitely appreciate you guys as well. Thank you. And yeah, see if you can. I always joke around. It's like you should go to your grandparents and your parents and steal their phone for a minute and open up a YouTube account and like and subscribe with their stuff as well.
yeah, and
So
and the MMA collector. That's something I want you to talk about as well.
yeah, like I said, the MMA Collector 74 is the YouTube channel. The main podcast there is an interview podcast with fighters. It's called the MMA Museum podcast. And we try just do historic interviews. I'm taping with a legend a little bit later today, and but he's a guy who's doesn't most mainstream fans won't even remember him, but he's one of the most influential people in the sport in the last 30 years. Um, so I'll let you guys a surprise there. I wonder how long I'll have him. He's a good guy, and he's a
Good.
guy that never wanted attention ever. So he was kind of surprised when I got a hold of him for the interview. But I guarantee you, like I'll put it this way: he was Cain Velasquez's corner man for Cain's first fight, and he told me, he goes, "I'm telling you, this guy's going to be a world champion."
There's a Bob Cook.
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go. That's why,
Yeah.
Todd, you're more than just a fan, right? You're an
Yeah.
insider. But yeah, you got so people aren't going to know him. But I
Yeah.
think it's a very, very much a worthwhile interview. And like I said, his influence can't really be measured in the sport. So
Right.
many
Very
guys, so
important
many.
person. A guy who's involved with Frank Shamrock, and that was really kind of maybe the first household name guy that he
Yeah,
was.
yep.
And Frank
And
used to always give him credit, say this guy is phenomenal. This guy could do this, that, and the other if he wanted. And he did have some fights too. So
yeah, I
yeah,
looked it up today. His Sure Dog record's 5-0, and I seem to remember him fighting and losing to Pele. That's not on there anymore. Pele Landy. I used to joke around with him. I was like, "I'm going to get you a Pele rematch," and you know, Bob can take care of himself. He doesn't have to.
yeah,
He would put up with my bad jokes and sense of humor as well. He's a genuine good guy all around, and he's probably um, sacrificed more for the sport than a lot of people out there. So I'm looking forward to that interview. You nailed it right on the head.
And Miguel's doing, like I said before, Miguel's doing a great job getting a lot of these things lined up. I was looking at, it's like, dang, he's just been firing on all cylinders lately.
Yeah, I got to get Murillo back to talk about his students and things afterwards. We got up to the Lindland fight, so he fought on a little bit after that. But I'd like to talk to him about guys like Milton Vieira and guys like that he's seen. The Murillo interview is he's pretty insightful in terms of talking about the breakup with Carlson Gracie and things. And Carlson went to the grave holding that grudge, and that kind of hurt to feel, and you could see, to hear rather, and you could see the sadness and disappointment in him. He still loves and respects that man. But yeah, so yeah, I think we've been doing good stuff. I enjoy it.
The move
That's
from
like I
UFC
said.
to Pride might be interesting to talk to him about, because I think he was champion at that time, was he not? I'm pretty sure he was.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. We got, like I said, he had a class he had to teach, so we had 80 minutes to do the interview, and I let him go right at minute 81 so that he could take care of his kids' class.
Yeah.
I'm eager to get him back, so we'll see. Anyway, MMA Collector 74 on YouTube. Give us a look and a shout
Yeah,
and a
for sure.
subscribe.
MMA Collector 74. Like I said, if you look at the rundown of interviews he's had, he's just been killing it lately. So if you're into the history stuff, especially anybody who's into the history would know when I'm saying he's killing it. He's just, one after another. So,
And the fight segment where we've been looking at older fights, and I've got a good group of people, yourself, Todd, Bob, and Kirk are friends of mine. Bob was working on the shows with me. Kirk is a guy I went to see my first UFC with. And don't forget Genghis, a military veteran who's been a fan of the sport since the very beginning as well. So we got a team of about 4 guys that we look back at old fights with and just do commentary, kind of like reviews of the fights and stuff like that. And that's a segment I think has a lot of legs. It's good. It's a good way for people to see, some fights that you may have missed if you're a newer fan, and that when you see them, actually now we'll go full circle. There you'll see the edge that MMA had, back in the old days, the NHB days. We just taped a segment on one of J.R. Palmer's fights. You from Hawaii will remember.
Good God. I could get JR on the show with you, for sure.
I'm game. Let's do it. Do it.
No
Set
doubt.
me up for it sometime this week in the evening. If he's still living in Hawaii.
No, he's not. He lives in the U.S. I think maybe Maryland somewhere, but he would do it. No doubt about it. I've talked to him before.
Okay, yeah. Tell him the MMA Museum is dying to talk to him.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
well, everybody, as always,
sir.
we appreciate the support. We're kind of going off on our own thing here, but we always appreciate the support. Everyone tuning in, and till next time, as always, take care.
Live to Fight is the type of company that Dana killed. It's a homegrown. It's a guy that just does good work and, puts it out there. And if you can support him, you really should, because he's precisely a guy who can't, his banners may not be able to hang on the UFC because he hasn't been able to pay them $100,000 to get his stuff out there. That's the corporate stuff that we're talking about now with the UFC, that, they've made everything at that level where it's all about money for them. And Live to Fight is a dude that does good work, makes you a great banner, and, doesn't have $100,000 to get on the UFC and stuff, and deserves support. So any fighter out there, anybody out there, owner of a gym or anything like that listens to us, God bless you, and thank you very much for your support. And, extend that to Live to Fight, because he's one of us. Those guys are one of us.